listen, for the main part, with the exception of breaking news, we'll be dealing with three major issues. Kamala Harris. We'll be dealing with Joe Biden dropping out of the race, actually being forced out of the race. We'll get into that in just a second. Un momento. We're going to have Eric Lindrum back from Am Greatness. We're going to have a better connection this time. He's going to be calling in. We had him on, I believe it was last Thursday. The connection wasn't so great, but he does some great writing on this stuff. He keeps up with this stuff. He's in the swamp, and he details what's happening in the swamp very well. He is with Am Greatness and the Right Take podcast. He's going to join us again to talk about the latest with Joe Biden dropping out of the race. But first, I want to talk to you, and I think I want to start here. There's a Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has said that the Republican Party, the Conservative Party, the Liberty Party is the anti-democratic party. They have often said, and you know that's been kind of their running thing, that Trump is an existential threat. Former President Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy, as they would say it. But nothing could be further from the truth, right? We know that when former President Trump was in office, he cut taxes. You know, dictators don't do that, right? He deregulated. We know that dictators don't do that. He attended NRA functions. We know that dictators don't support the Second Amendment. And so it's just really asinine for them to say that. And they'll say, well, January 6th. Listen, January 6th, he tried something that a president, and I forget the president in the past, tried before, and that was just to send, he wanted the electors to go back to their states and say, hey, ¿por qué? You know, what's going on here? Nothing more, nothing less. It was as simple as that. And then you had a few hundred people that got riled up and they got out of control. But the reports were that there were approximately 1 million people there. So you talk about a few hundred people out of 1 million people. And then you have what can be considered a riot. You had the J6 committee and all of the people that were in on that scam that literally made a Hollywood production with background noise and all this kind of stuff, trying to make all the J6ers look absolutely insane. We now know there had been reports that there were some FBI, there's some UCs, as I would call them, in the audience. This is what Democrats do. It is stagecraft, and what they try to do is project what they are and what they represent onto you and I, onto the conservative movement, onto the Republican Party, onto those of us that love liberty and those of us that love freedom. Well, guys, I can tell you that the Democratic Party is not democratic. They are a bunch of scam artists. We've seen them weaponize the DOJ. We've seen them weaponize the system against former President Donald Trump, and then it backfired in their face. Guys, we got to pay attention to all this. I'm going to be going through all of this, all right, because none of this stuff, none of this history that we're witnessing right now exists in a vacuum. Absolutely none of it exists in a vacuum. All right. And so the Democrat Party, what they do is they're not democratic. They don't care about their voters. I'll prove that to you in just a sec. And all it is to them, all these elections, all it is about gaining more power for themselves and for their friends and for a select few. That's all it's been about. That's all it's ever been with the Democrat Party. One of the things that Trump is doing, and I think effectively, and this is why I think they are likely going to go with Kamala Harris, it's going to be a narrative thing. I have some other speculations or other reasons why I think they might be leaning towards Harris. But one of the things that Trump has so effectively done is, remember this, the Democrat Party uses different groups, right? They need Latinos, they need blacks, they need gays, they need trans people now. They need all of these groups to gravitate around them or to root for them or to vote for them in order for them to win elections. And so the unions, would be another. And so what you see the Trump administration, or the Trump campaign, trying to do is to go after certain groups that are typically Democratic groups. And it's hurting it. They don't have an answer for that. Because they know that none of these people, if Democrats were to specifically or just focus on policy, they know that there's no way that they can keep these groups. So the only way they're going to be able to keep these groups is with a bunch of anger. Let me fast forward. You guys all remember the debate. You guys all remember, and I'll get into this with Eric Lindrum as well. And I thought it was, listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but some of this stuff that has been going on has been, at least in my opinion, pretty obvious, right? I could never get over Barack Obama walking Joe Biden off the stage in the way that he did. I just felt like it was totally uncalled for. It was totally unnecessary. I felt like he could have guided him in a different way. But I mean, Joe Biden certainly seemed aloof, but he didn't seem so out of it that he needed Barack Obama to make things so absolutely obvious. It's been a setup all along. I want you to understand that if you're a Democrat voter, well, you're not a Democrat voter. See, the so-called Democratic Party is completely anti-democratic. You know, they've been calling those of us on the right anti-democratic. They've been calling those of us on the right, or Trump specifically, an existential threat to democracy. But what you witnessed over the weekend with Joe Biden is is the end of democracy in the Democratic Party, at least. That's what you witnessed. Over 14 million voters said, I want that guy. Now, I think you're cray-cray for voting that way, quite frankly, because anybody with a modicum of common sense, or I should say this, anyone that was willing to see the truth, anyone that was willing to open their eyes, could clearly see that Joe Biden was infirmed and has been infirmed for quite some time. But perhaps your heart was too hardened to allow you to see it. But nonetheless, that's fine. We lived in a democratic republic. You can vote for whoever the heck you want to vote for, except Democrats say you can't. Because your 14.5 million votes, you Democrats, there should be 14.5 million Democrat voters that gives the double-barrel shotgun to the Democrat Party. Because when they kick Joe Biden out, and make no mistake about it, that guy is not a hero. Joe Biden is a punk, but he got exactly what he deserved. Quite frankly, I have no pity for him. I'm just being real with you. Pray for me later. I'm being real with you. But what the Democrat Party has done is absolutely inexcusable because it is anti-American. The way that they have handled Joe Biden is completely undemocratic. They kicked him out. He's not a hero. He didn't volunteer. You know, he did everything he could to hold on to power until finally what they did was they threatened the 25th Amendment. Why would they threaten the 25th Amendment? Why threaten the 25th Amendment? I mean, Vice President Kamala Harris just a week or two ago was talking about how, smart and sharp and all this kind of stuff. Joe Biden was. So why threaten the 25th Amendment? I know. Because now the reports are starting to flow that, people within his inner circle have been saying for 2 years, damn, this guy is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He's lost his mind. He repeats the same talking points over and over and over. Yeah, that was a report that's coming out today. How ironic. How ironic. But the Democrat Party said, you know what, 14.5 million voters, hey, screw you guys. We're going to settle this thing. We get to make the call. We get to pick who the nominee is, not you guys. You're too dumb. You're too, we just use you guys, right, to kind of, I don't know, to try to give us power in different places or more places. But ultimately, it's going to be up to a very select few. And guess what? The 14.5 million voters that voted for Joe Biden in the primary, that few ain't you. We'll be back. Today's show is brought to you in part by Priority Gold. Economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and your 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. In times like this, Proverbs 21:20 reminds us to preserve what we built. Right now, that wisdom points us towards gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, time to make it a priority. My name is Carl Jackson, and I am urging you to call my friends at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. Call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit PriorityGold.com/golden for a free gold info guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Again, call 1-800 405-GOLD, 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist or visit prioritygold.com/golden. All right, welcome back to the program. And again, we have just witnessed the Democrat Party that is not democratic at all. Everything they have claimed to be, they are not. You know, they have claimed that we, the Republican Party, and Donald Trump and conservatives are an existential threat to democracy. But when you have 14 million voters, over 14 million voters that vote for Joe Biden in a primary, and then you set Joe Biden up. They set Joe Biden up. That debate, I'm telling you, I mean, obviously, we all heard the arguments that were out there, right? But having that debate so early is just that's just uncanny. That simply does not happen. Usually debates happen, I believe it's September, if I'm not mistaken, maybe late August. I can't recall, but much later in the voting season, right before people start voting in early elections and all of that kind of good stuff. But I think Joe Biden was duped into the debate. He wanted to be Joe Biden. Oh, he's macho, he's machismo. But Democrats were looking at this as a way not to examine Joe Biden, but as a way for their voters to see how bad Joe Biden really was, because the polling was looking bad, guys, before the debates. Remember that. Joe Biden was starting to lose in swing states. They were throwing everything at former President Donald Trump. It was not going their way. It wasn't going the Democrats' party's way. And they realized, oh, my goodness, we know this guy stinks. His policies stink because we believe in his policies, right? So his policies stink. He's not doing any better. We're throwing the kitchen sink at Donald Trump. This stuff is starting to backfire on us. We're going to need somebody else to turn the page and energize the base. What do we do? Well, we go to Biden and say, listen, man, Trump is, he's really pulling ahead. You know, get that Irish blood in Joe Biden flowing. And so that Joe Biden wants to go out and try, Joe Biden being the tough guy that he is. Oh, I can beat Trump in a debate. And they're like, oh, okay, let's set it up, boss. And they set it up. But that was a setup for failure. That wasn't to see whether or not they should go forward with Biden. They had already made up their minds. That was to set him up so that Democrats could see how bad he was, because they had known it for a couple of years. But now they wanted their voters to see it because they were now afraid of losing their jobs. You get it? Man, these people are absolutely disgusting. Hat tip, New York Post. Thank you, Zach. Top Dems threatened to forcibly remove Biden from office unless he resigned, set him up to fail at the Trump debate. This according to inside sources. So operatives at the various highest levels of the Democratic Party, and we shouldn't call it that, right? They're not Democratic by any stretch of the imagination, of the Democrat Party, threatened Joe Biden with forcibly removing him from office unless he stepped down, according to sources that told the Post. The well-orchestrated, quote, palace coup, quote unquote, to stop the faltering president seeking re-election has been in place for weeks. But stubborn Biden fought against it every step of the way, according to the sources. Part of the elaborate strategy to remove Biden from the race, as he announced in a shock letter posted on X on Sunday, was allowing him to debate Republican candidate Donald Trump last month on live TV in Atlanta. Oh, and we'll get to this. Where's Biden? Where's Biden? I don't need a presser with VP Harris trying to, pump up Joe Biden as if he was some great historical figure. Well, he was a disastrous historical figure. And I hope that he's lucid enough to understand just how much damage he's done to the country. But I don't know. No one knows. No one knows where Joe Biden is. It's like, where's Waldo? It's insane. The X post wasn't even on the official presidential, site or page. It's insane. We really don't know who's running the country at this point. Well, I contend that it's always been a bit of an administrative state, and I suspect that it would be that way under a Kamala Harris. But I will also say this, that I am increasingly convinced, there's been a lot of conservatives calling for the 25th Amendment It's not going to happen. That is the leverage the Democrat Party used against Joe Biden. I'll get to that in just a second, but that's the leverage they used against the Irishman to fight against his stubbornness. Hey, Joe, if you don't give this up, what we're going to do is finally invoke the 25th Amendment. So don't think that Kamala Harris wasn't a part of this as well, because remember, guys, she's the one that has to initiate the 25th Amendment. The article goes on. Part of the elaborate strategy to remove Biden from the race, as he announced in this shock letter posted on X Sunday, was allowing him, again, to debate Republican candidate Donald Trump on TV in Atlanta. During the car crash 90-minute debate, Biden appeared confused, slack-jawed, and at one point he froze up. We all remember that, with his shocking performance turning the tide against him. The debate was a setup to convince Democrats that he couldn't run for president. They set him up. Honestly, I remember saying at the time, this feels like a setup. Like, all you have to do is pump him up and, tell him, hey, Trump wants to debate you, or, just make him try to behave like he's the tough guy. He was going to accept a challenge, and he stupidly did. His pride got in the way, and that debate was virtually or just about the end of his campaign. The column goes on. As calls for him to bow mounted, Biden insisted he would continue, but party bigwigs threatened to invoke the 25th Amendment. So this has been in play ever since last week. So Joe Biden catching COVID, allegedly. I have no clue. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But anyway, I would like to know that he's safe. I would like to know where he is. I would like to see him actually issue a statement to the American voters. I believe the American people, whether you like him or not, he owes all of the American people that much. So hopefully he will do that. But the left wasn't going to invoke the 25th Amendment. They didn't want to be caught, you know what I mean, knowing or Republicans challenging them. And I think that's why Republicans are saying, hey, invoke the 25th Amendment, because they want to bring all this stuff to the light. I'm just not sure how that will play out. And at first I was like, yeah, invoke it. But the more I think about it, I heard someone say, and this was a Republican congressman, I believe, hey, if she were to get in, I'm not worried about her running on this issue of incumbency. I've heard Trey Gowdians. I'm not worried about that, because frankly, I think in a very short period of time, she would be a very huge disaster. What I am worried about is any executive orders that she would put in play were she to become the president if Joe Biden dropped out. And I realize America is unsafe, but guys, I hate to tell you, America is unsafe as long as Democrats are in charge, as long as Joe Biden is in office, as long as Kamala Harris is in office, or any other one of these left-wing radicals they want to eventually make president. We're just not in a safe place, but we're better off with him staying where he is, Joe Biden, if he's alive, assuming he's alive. We'll be back. Guys, I want to talk to you about wealth protection research. At the very heart of our democracy lies a principle that we hold sacred. It's free speech. It's the cornerstone that supports every freedom that we cherish. Yet in today's digital age, discussions about our wealth, our rights, and our future are being silenced or overshadowed in mainstream narratives, leaving many feeling voiceless in conversations crucial to our financial independence and security. This is where wealth protection research steps in. They're armed with a mission that's never been more critical. Wealth protection research is not a financial advisory firm. They are defenders of free speech, committed to giving a voice to the silence. Wealth protection research tirelessly seeks out financial experts. These are the voices that challenge prevailing narratives, especially as we navigate the uncertainties of the 2024 election. Wealth protection research has created a 2024 election wealth protection report. This free report highlights the 3 best ideas for protecting and growing your money heading into the 2024 election. It contains ideas the mainstream media won't touch, and listeners can get it completely free. All you have to do is text the word ideas to 76626 to claim your free copy. If you believe in the sanctity of free speech and the importance of financial freedom, act now. Text the word ideas to 76626 to claim your free copy of this 2024 election protection report. It's time to widen the scope of what we're told to hear the ideas the establishment does not think you can handle, and to take control of our financial destinies. Text ideas to 76626 to claim your free copy. If you text the word ideas today, you'll also get a free gold investment kit from Wealth Protection Research, sponsored by Augusta Precious Metals. Joe Biden is officially out. Officially out. Now, he will remain in office. And I do believe he's alive. I was somewhat being jocular at the end of that last break, but I do wonder if he's in more serious condition than the media is letting on. I'm just, I'm just curious. It is really curious that we have not seen him, and I really don't care for Vice President Kamala Harris to come out and issue a press conference, if you will. When who is she? What has she done? I mean, that's not her job. Let Joe Biden come out and speak, unless he can't, and that's always a possibility. But again, you're welcome to call in and you can chime in on this, what happened to Joe Biden and the undemocratic party over the weekend. Here's another column from the Federalist hat tip. Obama's Biden backstab demonstrates party's moral bankruptcy. So Democrats just spend years grandstanding on democracy, and then they dismissed more than 14 million voters, just like we said earlier. So the Democrat Party's presumptive nominee was deposed in a coup they wrote, as tech billionaire David Sachs said it, at the direction of former President Barack Obama, who was obviously behind the entire operation. Well, guys, there's something that's going on, too. I was reading a column from the Free Press earlier, and there are a lot of people now, some people have gotten in line. So Nancy Pelosi, and I think this is huge because Nancy Pelosi was in on it, too. Apparently, from what I've read, from what I understand, Nancy Pelosi was behind the scenes, and she didn't want to go public on Joe Biden, but she would have done it had he not decided to drop out of the race. But the Clintons are siding with Kamala Harris. You may have heard the news, and I reported this yesterday on the Salem News Channel as well, that Obama has not endorsed Kamala Harris, so she will have to earn the delegates, and actually she's earned about half. We'll get to that later. So she is making inroads and gaining the delegates that she needs to be the nominee. Other nominees have come out and backed her. Gavin Newsom, J.D. Pritzker, I believe, of Illinois, if I recall correctly, Gretchen Whitmer. So it's absolutely fascinating what's happening. But Biden elected not to endorse her. And initially, the same was true for Nancy Pelosi, but she's since caved. But the Clintons were all in on Kamala Harris. And that suggests to me something that I spoke about last week is absolutely true. There's some intra-party fighting that's going on. Right now, it's the Obamas that control the Democratic Party. They have strongholds on the Democratic Party. I'm not saying necessarily that Joe Biden was a puppet, like Biden was the puppet master. I thought that initially. I'm not going to lie to you. But as time went on, there was some defiance. Joe Biden wanted to be his own man. He wanted to be his own president. He even dissed Barack Obama recently in a speech. He mentioned LBJ. He mentioned FDR. He did not mention Barack Obama. He wanted his presidency to be in the vein of those big-time leftists that really fundamentally transformed America, made government much bigger than it was ever intended to be in the United States of America. So I do believe you have a warring faction of the Democrat Party. I believe you have and even though Hillary is a progressive, I also think she can be pragmatic. Whereas Obama, I think, is a leftist who can be pragmatic, and I believe that's the fight. It's the Bernie Sanders wing of the party, right? Against the more, big government socialist motto of the party. It's very interesting. So pay attention. That's a fight that's happening too. Who's going to really control the DNC? Who's going to have the major influence over the DNC? So there's a lot of things going on in the Democrat Party that you should be aware of. But Obama backstabbing Joe Biden. And frankly, the entire party did. We'll be back. You might have heard Mike Lindell and My Pillow no longer have the support of the big box stores or the shopping channels that they used to. They've been part of this cancel culture, so they want to pass savings directly on to you, my listeners. They have a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started My Pillow, it was just one product, but with the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products, some that you may even know about. Obviously, you know about the My Pillow. So here's what Mike is doing to get the word out. I'm inviting my listeners to go to mypillow.com for their $25 extravaganza. They have a 2-pack multi-use My Pillows for just $25. My Pillow sandals are just $25. Their 6-pack towel sets are just $25. Brand new pack of dish towels, $25. So for the first time ever, the premium My Pillows with the all new Giza fabric are just $25 as well. And orders over $75 receive free shipping. All you have to do to get this amazing offer is go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. That's promo code Carl. Guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Please, again, remember to subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, and Rumble. Don't forget to check out below. You can find out where to get the merch, carljacksonmerch.itemorder.com. T-shirts are there. And until next time, guys, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.